Hi everybody, hope you're doing good. I'm Toby, this is Dumbo, and this is Ella. Ella's just joined our household just yesterday, and she's getting familiar with the place. Laura's back there saying hi, healthy eating, healthy cooking. She's got lunch going. But Dumbo and I just hopped in to give everybody an update on the Helephants. So, we will make this snappy. What's going on with the Helephants? Well, right now, as you can see by my little spreadsheet here, we're not doing anything on the Helephants. We're waiting for me to get more practice on sub-assemblies, undercoating. He says yes. Ooh, hi there. Painting, basing. You get the idea. All the skills where I'd want the Helephants not to look too bad. So, again, we're getting some practice in before we start that aspect of the project. So what are we doing right now? Well, we have started by, let me move this up to this line. And how about this line? Oh, how about both those lines? First up, we've got the, well, hello Beagles, the work on the miniatures of the month. And so two of those miniatures of the month, which looked like this little fellow right here, these two I got as a freebie miniature of the month, and they're great practice items for me to work on the Helephants paint scheme. So as you see from my notes, that's exactly what's going to happen. Any of these miniatures of the month that I collect as freebies, they are basically where I practice the Helephants color scheme. So what I've discovered so far is in both cases, or in the batch one of what I've done so far, I put them together with no regard whatsoever during assembly for how difficult it would be to paint them later. In other words, I didn't split them into little sub-assemblies, keep pieces off where I could paint underneath it easily, then glue it on later. None of that, because I was more concerned, and I'm still happy with my decision. I was primarily concerned with getting practice in on assembling them, base coating them, gluing the pieces, good stuff. So, first up, our miniature of the month. We've got two of them. We've got a Stormcast Eternal and a Space Marine. And these guys initially came in a box looking like this. I got one. Laura got one. These were our freebies for our first visit up the street to our local Games Workshop store. And we got these freebies from TJ. Again, looks a little like that and a little like that if you paint them as intended. Well, again, with these being the repositories for learning Dumbo's color scheme, and let's remind ourselves what Dumbo looks like here. Hi, everybody. We had a little Stormcast Eternal come up with some highlighting there, and our little Space Marine. And we've got poor lighting here. I acknowledge this. We're just keeping this moving along quick and easy today. Okay? So, my determination, though, was that regardless of the challenge in painting them, because I glued them all together without any regard for how difficult it would be later. A good example is this little fellow's shield. It sure would have been nice to paint his ass without a shield in the way, but that's how it rolls, right? Okay, so what I've determined is to be able to better judge my progress on painting within the lines and shading, highlighting, and other adventures that come along with this painting element. My determination is that, I should probably be painting how it looks something like on the box, or like you see these little fellows here in front of us right now, which I'm not. I'm doing this to practice Dumbo's color scheme. So we're going to take batch one of these miniatures of the month, which I've gotten this far. We're going to put them lower priority than my next round of activity. So they're down in priority number 4. We're just going to be working through this like it's a to-do list. What's going to happen next to these guys is I am going to add new additional base layers. They're most likely going to be base layers in Dumbo's, hey, thank you, honey, in the Helephants colors. I'm also going to drill out this little Space Marine's barrel there because I've got the right tool for the job on that. So after we apply more base layers to these, again, practicing Dumbo's Helephants, that's what's up with them next. On other models, I'm going to repeat the armor fade I did on certain elements. By armor fade, it's going to be what's going on in our Helephants and the way that it fades in their armor sections, not their cloth sections of their uniforms, but the little hard shell armor sections. TJ gave me great instructions. I misinterpreted what he meant by them, but I got it going on now, so we'll get some more of that practice in. Now, also at the same time that I base coated these guys and assembled these guys, the Miniatures of the Month Batch 1, I also assembled and base coated Batch 1 of the Hearthguard of the Fire Slayers. Now for them, I really put some effort in. What the hell is a Hearthguard Fire Slayer supposed to look like? Hey, there's the box, okay? That's what they're supposed to look like. So, again, my standard public service announcement of angry naked dwarves is what we got going on here. So that gave me a lot of great room to practice flesh tones, okay? Great, but what I'm still encountering is, as they were from Batch 1, just like our Miniatures of the Month that I mentioned, I put these guys together with no regard whatsoever for how difficult painting a butt underneath an axe was going to be, or if they had this little swingy action going on around them, right? Okay, so that worked out fine, but again, I'm practicing something on here that I decided to migrate these guys into being a practice bed for the Helephants color scheme. I'm going to keep that isolated to the Miniatures of the Month I continue to collect. I am going to transition to painting these guys pretty much to the box art, but with consideration given that I've just glued them all together, and whatever I can reach with my brush I can, and whatever I can't I can't. Regardless, it's still great practice for what needs to go on here. So that is essentially the elements that make up Batch 1. That is those Fire Slayer Hearthguard, hi there, and 2 Miniatures of the Month, a Stormcast Eternal, hello, and a Space Marine Primaris Intercessor, hello to you too. Batch 1 were all assembled at the same time, primed at the same time, taken the same approach. I say primed, undercoated. So they're now taking priority, a lower priority to the next project, which is going to be what's called Batch 2. Batch 2 is going to be taking my next round of Miniatures of the Month, and I've got 2 of them. One of them's going to look like this fellow right here. I say that, there we go, hello Mr. Pointy Fellow. And the other one's going to look like a variant on the Space Marine, this one called a Primaris Space Marine Reaver. There we go. So, where are these fine fellows hanging out? Well, let's see what I've got here. Obviously, it's hiding from me somewhere. I'll be back in a moment. Apple says, hello everyone. Alright, our Primaris Space Marine Reaver, this fellow here on the screen, he is hanging out in this box, and right now just simply looks like a box of parts. I will be putting him together. Shaky, shaky, party, party, right? Okay. As part of Batch 2, and so will our Lumineth Realm Lord Arthurian, or with some word, Warden. He's got a pokey spear and a big ass one, right? There he is in the baggie. So that's going to be part of Batch 2, and for Batch 2 I will be giving consideration to the following. Let's get some sub-assembly practice in. TJ up the street taught me this great way of making little sub-assembly stands so I can do it easily with the parts I hack off while creating my other units there. I'll go into details on how he told me to do that in a later video. We're going to practice drilling out this Space Marine's barrel with our little drill, as well as this Space Marine right here. I said this was Batch 2. I am going to go backwards a little bit and do that to the same guy on Batch 1, but where are you, dude? This fellow's, well, he may not need drilling out. Looks like he's got a pointy part. We'll see how that goes. Drill out Space Marine's bolter. Maybe yes, maybe no. This will include some more practice on my undercoating. I believe I went a little heavy-handed. I don't believe I did. I know I went heavy-handed on these guys. Again, being perfectly happy with this just being my rough cut, getting them up in front of TJ up the street, getting feedback on what I can do better. which he provided me some great advice, so we're going to put that into application during our undercoating practice on batch 2. And for this fellow and this fellow being part of batch 2 miniatures of the month, any practice I can get in on these flat portions of practicing that armor fade technique that I was talking about from our batch 1 miniatures, we're going to continue to work on that, as well as painting those fellows in the Helephants colors. So that's part of batch 2. But what's the big body of work for batch 2 is going to be this item number 2 in priority. This is going to happen pretty quick. They're both going to be priority 1 and priority 2. All of batch 2 is going to be assembled essentially at the same time. Then undercoated, or any sub-assemblies I decide to do, I make them up at the same time. We're going to undercoat those at the same time. But we'll then get into painting, and what is the big activity that I'm looking forward to? It's this start collecting gray water fastness box. And what that looks like is so, howdy ho. We are going to be taking a box of these guys. It's a start collecting box from Citadel's Age of Sigmar game, okay, for a particular race. This one's dwarves, but we are going to take this start collecting box and we are going to paint it up to the box art. And again, that gets back to my point around practicing Dumbo's colors without actually having, while still needing to get some seat time underneath me for things like painting and being able to tell how close I'm coming to a set of guidance or instructions being given to me. And the best way to do that is to paint these guys to the box art. So we are going to start assembling this entire box of gray water fastness to the box art and taking it from there. Now, what I'm going to do is get 3 practice batches out of this box. There's 10 of these little iron breaker fellows, and then there's 2 of the more hero type. One's called a cogsmith, and the other is called the Warden King, I believe. And then we also have this vehicle in the back, the gyrocopter or gyro bomber. So I'm going to take 5 of these little iron breakers and the cogsmith as the first batch out of here. And assemble, undercoat, get some practice in on those. My second batch that will come out of this box will be the other 5 of these iron breakers and the Warden King. Again, I'll assemble, undercoat, and do sub-assemblies out of those all as a single batch. That way I give myself some time between practicing undercoating on the first round of these fellows and the second round. I'll save the gyrocopter for last as a little miniature project all into itself, and that'll get assembled. So we will see that coming up as we proceed through batch 2, and that's what batch 2 is going to be made of. It's going to be made up of a combination of 2 miniatures of the month and my progression on this start collecting box. Now, to still continue to get my intent is here on my batch 1, I got my assembly, my practice in on some assemblies. I got my first practice in on laying down base layers. I will continue to work on batch 1. I'll continue that with additional base layers and then moving to some layering and some other items that I want to practice in the Helephants color scheme. But meanwhile, on batch 2, we're going to be getting a lot of practice in to the box art, so to speak. So shrinking that down, you can expect to see, not that, I'll do my best, but keep in mind that guy was assembled first with no regard for assembly or for painting afterwards, but we will be getting us some gray water fastness here. This box set coming into the box art, well, mostly that to the box art right now. Let's say that, okay? Anyway, that's the update from Helephant Central here with Dumbo. Hi, how's everybody doing? Happy Saturday. And also we've got our new arrival here in the household. Ella's come to see what the World Wide Web looks like. And I will make a condensed best of reel or anything I want to convey as far as tips I picked up. We'll get that cut down and edited and out to the world. Catch you later. Bye.